Spicejet insolvency hearing is expected to take place today. The NCLT is asking Spicejet to solve its issues with the lessors. Now, NCLT in the last hearing observed that neither party have presented a resolution nor come prepared with arguments on insolvency issue. The lessors have confirmed to NCLT that settlement talks had not just yielded any results, and they are proposing to Spicejet to work around with the lessors. That hasn't happened. Important hearing there coming in at this, we are given to understand will happen today in NCLT.
That's right.
And could decide Spicejet's fate.
That's right. So, unlike Go First, Spicejet has not filed for voluntary insolvency, but lessors and lenders both are pressurizing Spicejet to honor payments, and they seem to have an inkling that Spicejet may not be able to honor those payments, and they are the ones who are pushing the matter to NCLT because they don't want to see what happened in Go First happen with them.
Absolutely.
In this case, if the lessors are pushing for an insolvency plea for the airline, they get complete right over their aircraft, unlike what we saw in Go First. But incidentally, this comes a day after 2 days after Spicejet was pretty much ridiculed on social media for not paying pilot salaries for up to 2 years, and some of my pilot sources also confirmed that payments have been sporadic for pilots. So obviously there seems to be a financial crunch at the airline. But it comes a day after Spicejet actually announced salary hikes for their pilots, right? And pilots in Spicejet are now likely earning up to 7.5 lakh rupees a month. So you're likely to be in a financial crunch. You are giving hikes to pilots who you have not paid regularly for 2 years, and here your lessors are taking you to an insolvency proceeding.
Very interesting dichotomy. And remember, the chairman managing director of Spicejet, Ajay Singh, has denied rumors regarding the airline filing for bankruptcy, also labeling them as baseless. The airline has in fact initiated the process of reviving its grounded fleet using funds worth $50 million it got from Indian government's emergency credit line guarantee scheme. So it is utilizing the fund that it has received from the government. But all in all, you know, what does it really speak about the aviation sector? And I think this is a constant sort of a discussion that never ends for us. One after the other, and to borrow from your example, it is falling like, it's toppling like dominoes, you know, one after the other.
Yeah, until there will be only two left. So if you ask me, my personal opinion, I wouldn't like to say that, you know, I have great deal of professional opinion here, but my personal opinion and my analysis of trends suggests that the Indian aviation sector is heading towards a duopoly. And you will only have the Tata, AirAsia, Vistara combined one corporate entity taking to Indian skies under different brand names, and you will have Interglobe Aviation that runs Indigo as the other entity, and it's going to be very difficult for
where do you place Aircastle? Yeah, if at all, if you place it in the map.
No, I do. I mean, it's there, it's relevant. But, you know, I'm not saying a typical duopoly where there are only two players commanding 100% of the market. But there are going to be two players which will together own a lion's chunk of the market, with fringe players existing on the sides who will fly maybe, you know, smaller duration flights, lesser number of aircrafts, not prime time operations in key metros, and in general servicing only a few pockets within the larger map of India, as opposed to, you know, these full-blown two large dominating players which will control the entire skies.
So we don't see Spicejet going away anytime soon. We are hoping that Go First is going to revive operations. We don't know when that's going to happen. Aircastle is just getting there.
Even as that happens, you know, the likes of Indigo and the Tata, Vistara, AirAsia combined is actually going to keep increasing its market share, leaving the likes of Go First, Spicejet, Aircastle and what have you scrambling to eat into that little remaining piece of the pie. And eventually, you know, some of them would survive for a little longer than the others, some of them would consolidate, get taken over, get bought over, file for insolvency. All of that is going to keep happening for the airlines that operate in that smaller chunk of the pie.
You know, before I wind up, and this is interesting because we don't know what is better. Is a duopoly better? Is consolidation better in the aviation sector? Because many experts that we have had on our show said we are heading towards consolidation, and that would mean that would be the future of aviation space. That would mean better services, but it would also mean higher prices.
But better profitability
and
as
better
well.
profitability. So airlines are going to be more sustainable, but people, commoners, may not be able to take to skies because essentially there is no competition, there is no free market. Smaller airlines are unable to sustain.
But unlike a monopoly, Shweta, and a duopoly, there is still going to be a price war.
Okay.
Right. If there is only one player, obviously you can command any price you like, unless there is a cap on it, which is a regulation, a law, rule set by the government. Otherwise, in the private sector, if there are two players, they will keep, I mean, look at what is happening with Jio and Reliance. Neither of them are able to, Jio and Airtel, none of them are able to actually hike prices because it's a very tightly fought market.
Absolutely.
In the aviation space also, now as only two airlines or two groups remain as large, market commanders, you will see that they will also then derive greater economies of scale. They will have more aircraft, they'll be flying more sectors, they'll be able to rotate crew, pilots, manage them more efficiently, have lesser idle time, have lesser number of aircraft on ground, and they will be able to then bring in efficiencies by way of commanding a larger share of the market to not let prices go up significantly while also improving their bottom line significantly.
I just hope it doesn't come to a cement market where there is a cartelization. Everybody sits on the table and decides prices. It never goes lower than that price. Even when you know the raw material that goes into cement is getting far cheaper as opposed to the end price for consumers. Of course, it's a larger discussion on economies of scale, on what works better. Does a duopoly, a monopoly works better? Consolidation works better than a free market with multiple players? We will, of course, keep discussing all those trends and more, but all eyes there on Spicejet today. NCLT will be hearing lessor's plea. We will, of course, have to wait and watch out for what happens in NCLT, whether there's going to be some sort of relief for Spicejet at this point or not.